Hey guys, Laggimus Prime here, and today I am playing LordKnightmon. Now, today is a bit of an unfortunate video because I tried like 4 games in a row, trying so desperately hard to actually get some content of this deck for you guys because I wanted to try and make LordKnightmon pretty good by doing the same thing that I did with my 4 great dragons, by using the yellow vaccine cards that came out in BT14 as an engine of sorts. So my opponent here in this match, you're going to see 2 different matches. My opponent in this match is using some of the newer insectoid types or cards that are coming out in the future sets. I'm assuming that he wanted to use some of the newer cards and see how they played. But, yeah. So I am using this deck. I'm trying it out. I've done some pretty good stuff so far with it. But every single time that I go against somebody with this deck, they seem to just leave, either by quitting the game or just going AFK, like just leaving. I don't know what happened to him. Anyway, my opponent says that I'm not sure what he said exactly. He says, "I play this deck, don't worry." So I'm not sure if he was talking about Yellow Vaccine or if he was talking about his deck. But he said, well, not this version, so I'm assuming that he was speaking about Yellow Vaccine. So I'm trying to make the decision, do I grab the Galaddimon or do I grab my Tamer? Because I know he's definitely going to do some security checks before I do. So maybe the memory gain at the start of the turn wouldn't be too bad if I left security. But I'm like, no, I want the warrior in my hand. I need warriors. And I thought that using the physical training passed over turn, but I forgot. And so I'm just like, okay, then let's just play Galaddimon and see if I can get something out of my security. And I see that LordKnightmon is in there, and I'm like, okay, I need to get that out of there. Because the Yellow Vaccine engine, unfortunately, kind of stops at the level 6. Because the level 6 is not a vaccine. LordKnightmon is apparently a virus, which is really strange because it does not look like a virus. But either way, I needed to get it out of security because if I didn't, then I would have a very rough time. So he promotes his Tentomon, and it has a very interesting start of turn effect, which is actually quite strong. At the start of the turn, you just suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. It's like, wow. Okay. And then it gains 3k DP until the end of my turn, which is even stronger. So he suspends my Galaddimon, swings into it. The inheritable of the Tentomon gains him a memory because he deleted a Digimon, which is pretty much one of the main aspects of the deck. Or of the Kabuterimon line, or the Insectoid line, is they just like to suspend things and then just swing into the suspended to do piercing and get a whole bunch of effects. Interesting, but ever since they hit Grand Kuwaga, you don't really see it anymore. Anyway, so he passes it over to my turn, playing another Memory Setter, and that Memory Setter is actually pretty unique. The Memory Setter that he has, whenever one of my Digimon attacks, he can redirect it into his suspended Digimon. So it's like a pseudo, what's called like a pseudo blocker. Kind of makes sense. So anyway, so I go ahead and use training to Digivolve for 1 into the Angemon because I'm like, okay, I need to get something on here. Unfortunately, that Kabuterimon has a very unique effect that when it's suspended, it cannot be affected by opponent Digimon's effects. So I can't swing into it because he's 8k, and I can't affect it with anything. I can't bounce it to hand. I can't bottom deck it. I can't put it at the bottom security. I can't minus its DP and I can't give it security attack -2. So I'm trying to decide what should I do here, because either way, anything that I'm doing is going to give him a lot of memory. He's going to go to 3 anyway. So I'm just like, I want my Knightmon on board. I at least get a blocker with him. So give you 4 memory, go into my blocker. And I get that amazing inheritable if I can keep him until my next turn. It goes into my opponent's turn. He doesn't have the suspend anymore, so that's good, because I'm pretty sure what he would have done if he had it, he would have suspended my guy and then swung into it. But he's telling me these are draws, so I'm like, okay, I guess he's not really getting a good hand. So he just hard plays for 4 the Blade Kuwagamon that just got announced. On play, one of his Digimon gets +3 KDP until the end of the turn, and he decides to place it onto the Kabuterimon, which makes it to where my blocker is null and void. So I let the attack go through. He hits into an Agumon, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then he hard plays another Kabuterimon, and I'm like, oof. That must have been one hell of a hand he had. And then I draw into Emissary of Hope. I'm like, oh my god. But Emissary of Hope won't help with LordKnightmon. So I'm just immediately Digivolve into Lord Knight. There's no question about it. He says it's definitely not great. I'm like, okay, alright. Well, I got my Lord Knight out. I have at least 1 level 3, so I could either swing into level 3 with Rush, or I could play out my Galati. So I'm like, okay, what should I do here? But then my opponent asked me where am I attacking, which is a good question, because if I attacked a security, he would have just redirected it anyway. So I'm like, yeah, there's no point. There's absolutely no point swinging at security. So I know he has a redirect. So I'm just going to swing into his level 4. There's no point in going for security because he would probably end up redirecting it anyway. Plus, it gets rid of a body on board. It helps. A body on board that has some pretty decent inheritables. So I swing into the suspended, play out the Bushi Agumon, and this is the part where I wish I had another level 3 in hand. Because if I swung with Bushi Agumon, I would be able to play out another level 3 with the inheritable of Knightmon. But I don't have one. Which is, I kind of wish that Knightmon's inheritables were kind of the same as LordKnightmon's when attacking. Where it's, you get to play a level 3 black or yellow, or like at least like a level 4 warrior in trait. Because that would make it really, really good. But then that would be that probably would be a very broken card at that point. So I decided to take a huge gamble with Emissary of Hope, and it paid off. I had no idea what was in security. And I'm like, well, I can't do anything with my Bushi Agumon. If I swing with it, it might not be very good. But the fact that Emissary of Hope just got me a free Evo with the one of Geo Gray into a Tamer play. Sometimes the yellow vaccine stuff, it goes off. Like, it is crazy how powerful this thing can just pop off. So I get the free Evo, I get the memory tamer play, or I not the memory tamer, I get the tamer play. I bottom deck the Angelomon, and I think I'm pretty much doing this all in the wrong order, but I mean either way I'm going to be gaining the memory from both of the tamers. So I gain 2 memory back. I get to draw 1. Bam, another Lord Knight. Now, this is where I start to question things, because I'm like, I know that the Agumon had Rush, but the fact that I Digivolved into a level 4 that doesn't have Rush, kind of makes me wonder, like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't carry over the rush. So I messaged that to my opponent, and my opponent reassures me, or he just lets me know. He's like, yeah, no, it doesn't carry over because it doesn't gain rush for the turn. It just has rush. So I'm like, yeah, I thought that was the case. So at this point, no point pretty much playing anything else. I should just get another Lord Knight on field. So I believe I Digivolve for 3 into the Angelomon, and I like to use that specific Angelomon. I can't quite remember what set it's from. BT3. Yeah, BT3. I feel like it's that one is actually pretty good with Lord Knight because it kind of has the same effect as Lord Knight when attacking, but it has more stipulations. You have to have 3 or less security, which does come up quite a bit. So yeah, I just decided to Digivolve for 3 into another Lord Knight, and I'm like, okay, your turn. Kabuterimon has security attack -2. And if he attacks, I get to play a level 3. So it's like, all right, it's game time. I got 2 Lord Knights. Let's go. But unfortunately, this is the moment where he just disappears. And I'm like, okay. I literally sat there waiting for like 15 to 20 minutes. And I said, okay, enough's enough. I'm just going to the next match. So here we are in game 2. And in this game, it's a little bit more interesting. I believe I'm going against a Justimon player, or it's Justimon, or it's a variant type of Justimon with some of the newer, like I think it's BT15 cards. And once again, it's just, I tried so hard to actually like get a good game with the deck, but just after like 4 games in a row, where at least 3 of them were people just straight left, I can't keep playing this. But so yeah, we're going against Justimon. At first I thought it was a Commandramon, but then I saw him play that like Hagurumon, and I'm like, okay, so it's a, yeah, I thought maybe it's a Machinedramon, but then I saw the Tamer, and I'm like, this is a really, like, what is this deck? What is it? I thought it was Deep Brigade at first, because you just immediately you see a Commandramon and you think, ah, yes, that is a Deep Brigade deck. But I was apparently wrong. And here, at this moment, when you play the Haguru, you can add a Machine Cyborg and a Black Tamer. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that was a Black Tamer, wasn't it? Like, it had to have been. But apparently my opponent had not completely read the card and didn't know that you were able to add a Black Tamer as well. So, you know, I like to give people benefit of a doubt. I'll say, like, you know, I try to help them out in their plays and stuff like that. Or, you know, if I know that they're supposed to do this, I'll let them do it. Or, you know, I'll be like, oh, you're supposed to do this. So that way, you know, there's no harm in that, you know. Everybody makes mistakes. So I said, yeah, you can go ahead and get it. Like, you know, just go ahead and get your card. But he didn't know exactly how to do that. So I had to kind of guide him along how to do it. Even though I've only been playing this for maybe a couple of weeks now, it's actually not that hard to pick up on. Except for some of the effects. I know sometimes whenever I play the BT14 TK, it's kind of easy to get confused with the old, it was a BT1 TK, where you play the Tamer and then you search security and then you grab a yellow card and recover. I know I've done that a couple of times where I played the BT14 TK and look through my security and I'm like, wait, no, that's wrong effect. But anyway, so I tell him how to find the card and I let him grab his Tamer, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, man. You know, because honestly, we're just playing here. I have a pretty good setup, so no harm, no foul. And I look in there, and I'm like, there is immediately a good value. I got an Angemon in there. I got a level 5 in there. Can't get the level 6, unfortunately, but I know I make a huge mistake here in just a moment where I... No, not right now, but here in a moment, yeah, I completely forgot. Even though in the first game, I knew how to use Emissary of Hope, but, yeah, I kind of messed up and, like, I played it for one and ended up passing my turn because, oh, I can't go into not Lord Knight with this deck with Emissary of Hope. But anyway, so go into Knightmon, delete his Gahugurumon minus 3k, and yeah, here's the play. I pay 1 to use Emissary of Hope, and I'm looking at Lord Knight, and I'm like, Lord Knight is not a yellow vaccine, and I'm like, cool. So I tell my opponent, you know, I forgot, no effect. Well, it wasn't what I forgot was in there. I was like, I knew there was a level 6, but anyway. But I mean, passing turn over to 1 isn't too bad. That way he gets a little chance of possible doing stuff, and it might get me a chance to be able to do something. Anyway, my opponent here is thinking of what to do. Especially being left with 1 memory, and from what I understand, Justimon needs a good bit of memory. And he goes into a, oh, I actually can't remember what the name of that, a Mechanorimon? Can't quite remember what it is. Or Gardramon? I can't remember. Anyway, he goes into that, leaves me at 1. I play TK, and I'm like, I was hoping so much that TK could grab me Lord Knight, and lo and behold, there it was. I really hated having to put Bushiagumon at the bottom, but it was the only yellow vaccine card that I had to be able to gain memory back. So I'm like, hey, I don't mind. I get to get Lord Knight into my hand and possibly get set up for the next round. Yeah, so I Digivolved into Lord Knight. I wish I could have Digivolved the Kudamon, but usually I always want to get his on-play effects. But I would have loved to Digivolve over there, because I think after this I could have done something interesting, but so he Digivolves into Metal Gray. So that way, whatever, if the top Digivolution has Reboot, he gets Security Plus. Then he goes into Justimon. So pretty much just a straight black line with a protection effect, increased DP if he has a Tamer, Security +1 if he has Reboot, and it has Reboot with the Inheritable. So it's a pretty juiced up Justimon. So here I'm trying to think of what to do. I know I really want to swing and get LordKnightmon's effect. I wish I had the Argumon back in hand so I can have something with Rush, but unfortunately it doesn't necessarily work out like that. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised that he didn't promote the Justimon, or not. Well, when it was the Gardramon. But yeah, go ahead and take a swing here. Use the effect. And I believe, I can't remember quite what I played. I think it was the Kuda. Yeah, I played the Kudamon, or Kotamon. I keep saying Kuda. The Kotamon. Because I wanted to look through the top 5 cards and then add some more Holy Warriors or Warriors. Which is really strange that Kotamon is not a Warrior and is a Reptile. I find that incredibly strange, but hey, I got another Lord Knight. Sounds good in my book. Now, I love the inherited effect of the promo Knightmon, where it's, if another Digimon attacks, you just play a level 3. I love that. Now, this is where I Digivolve for 2 into Gladiamon because I want to start making a line. I knew I had a level 5 in there, and I knew I wanted to get into another LordKnightmon immediately. And that's pretty much what I did. I Digivolved into Angelomon, and I love to use, I don't know if I probably did mention it, but I love using that Angelomon variant because it's pretty much like a semi LordKnightmon, where if you attack, you have 3 or less security. You get to play level 3. Pretty much, it is pretty good. And currently, I'm trying to think like, what do I do now? What do I do now? If I was able to swing with that other body on board, I would have played out the Agumon, but yeah, I just went into another Lord Knight to buff them both and get ready for some insane plays if I could get the right cards in hand. So what I can do is like swing with Lord Knight, play Knightmon or Gladiamon, and then swing with the other Lord Knight, play a Knightmon, play a Bushiagumon. I kind of I really do like using Yellow Vaccine as an engine, especially whenever you can combine it with other stuff, like the Knightmon promos, because it can really work well with Lord Knight. It's just so strange to me that Lord Knight is a virus type. The way it looks, it doesn't look like it would be a virus. At least I haven't watched all of the shows, so I can't quite say what it is or what it isn't. Heck, it could be a virus kind of thing in the shows. So my opponent does something strange here, because I imagined that he was going to just straight promote the Justimon, but they actually didn't do that. They decided to just straight play Black Memory Boost, and I mean, it makes sense if you're trying to get the right card in hand and not be left at just one memory the whole time. So I didn't blame him for using that, but that gives me a perfect time to make a huge play set up here. So yeah, I go ahead and swing with Lord Knight. I use Lord Knight to play the Agumon. Got to get that rush right away. So that makes Lord Knight up to what? 11, 12, 13k. Then I swing with the other Lord Knight. Now, my opponent here believed that my Lord Knight was actually supposed to die because of the Justimon, but he didn't realize that the Justimon is 13k or gets 1k extra for every other body on your side of the field. So I go ahead and let him know that it's 13k. Swing with Lord Knight, use the effect to play Knightmon, and then I use the Knightmon inheritable for when another Digi attacks. I get to play a level 3, black or yellow. And that was a really good hit. Got to add a warrior and a holy warrior. I don't really like to go into Kentaros all that much, but I figured it would have been the better level 6 to go into. But, I mean, it's all good. We go ahead and swing with the Agumon. Agumon dies, obviously. But he's, like, that's one reason why I like to run the Agumon, or like as a 4 of, not to Digivolve. I hate to Digivolve with him, but you know, really easy way to just get fast checks in with him. So I go ahead and use TK's effect, put him at bottom, kind of prepare my security for a move here, because I know I got Patamon. Patamon can easily go into a level 4 on my next turn. It'd be nice if they gave us a new LordKnightmon. LordKnightmon hasn't seen very many, like, very much support or any new cards really ever since. From what I see, I wasn't around what was it, BT5 or whatever it was, whenever LordKnightmon came out. And apparently LordKnightmon was a menace to society. So I wasn't around for that. I didn't get started until like a little bit before BT11. And it's an interesting deck, to say the least, where you just kind of swarm the board with your level 6. But, yeah. So I ended up just digivolving for 3 on top of Knightmon into another Lord Knight. So it's like if I attack with all 3 of these, that's just even more bodies on board. I'm kind of glad that I sometimes don't get the chance to do that with this deck, because you run out of room so fast. There's not too much room to be able to swarm the board. Luckily, I haven't had it happen too much. But yeah, I had to cut a good bit of the footage here, because this is where the plays started to get a little bit longer and longer and longer. It took him a good like 5 minutes to actually use the black memory boost to go up to what he needed. And he decides to play his Tamer, so he gets the extra DP. So I believe Justimon is at... no, he's got that Digi Egg underneath him, so he's at least at 12k. And he put that Raijin that he grabbed with Black Memory Boost underneath, so that way whenever he attacks, he minuses 4k to something. He also has a protection effect. He has Reboot. He has Security Plus, and then he has his when attacking effect. The only issue is that since he doesn't have another body on board or another D Brigade on board, the protection effect will not work. But yeah, so he goes ahead and swings into one of my Lord Knights. This is where a little bit of confusion goes, because yeah, he's telling me that Raijin is going to be minusing 4k to Lord Knight, so that way, you know, things can't get buffed, or it won't be able to get higher than its DP. But then he unsuspends his Digimon, and then changes the target or the thing over to Kodamon. So I got really confused here, because I know that Justimon has an unsuspend ability once per turn because he has a Tamer. So I didn't know what he was doing. Yeah, see, that's where it shows that he's going to be doing that, and I was really confused. And this is where he explains it. Says, no, this is the pop 5 cost. I was like, okay, so he's not using the unsuspend. He is instead opting to swing into the Lord Knight, give it minus 4k, and then use the effect to pop the Coda. I'm like, okay. Like, that makes sense. So now he suspended the Tamer, so he gets an extra 1k until the end of my turn. So he's at 11, 12, 13, he's at 13. And even with my inherited Knightmon effect, playing out a level 3 wouldn't really help out in the situation. Because I believe it makes Lord Knight go from 11, 12, 13, 14, but he's still at 10k because of the minus 4. So then he digivolves his Justimon into this brand new, is that BT16 Chaosmon? So I'm assuming that the deck that he has is like a Justimon mixed with like the Raijinmon cards. I'm not 100% sure. But he goes ahead and digivolve 3 on my other Lord Knight. I'm like, okay, I see what he's trying to do here. And then he minus 8k to the Patamon, because I believe when Chaosmon digivolves, digivolves 3 and then minus 8Ks to something. So that kind of hurts, But then Chaosmon has barrier and blocker. So yeah, and then apparently at the end of my turn or the opponent's turn, both players trash the security. That's a pretty like dangerous effect to have, in my opinion, because that's like a double-edged sword. As you can see, he has one security left, so all it would take for me is just a swing on next turn. But so here's where the part where he kind of disappears, my opponent, because I look at my security for the Pata effect. And I'm wondering, is his level 7 a vaccine? Because if it's a vaccine, I can just make it go to his bottom security, and he has to start all over. But after I asked the question, what is your digi? Is it virus, vaccine, data? He kind of just disappears. I sat here like, this is the footage sped up like 400%. I couldn't make it go any faster than this. So, yeah, he just didn't answer, and at this point, I'm just looking on my phone trying to find the card and figure out what exactly it is. I eventually come to the decision, like, oh, it's a vaccine. There's no point in going into that Angemon, so I go into this one. And then I get the effect to place a yellow vaccine, so I'm like, I got plenty of level 5s. Just go ahead and put Angemon at the bottom, get my memory back, get my draw. And I just continue with my plays. Yeah, I know that his thing has a reboot, so it's got that barrier blocker. So my idea here is I'm up to 7 memory because of my tamer effects and Patamon. And I'm like, I have a way to make him minus 15k. So I have a 4 cost I can play, and then swing with Lord Knight, and then play the Knightmon, and minus 15k. Now, it wouldn't kill him because he has the 1k extra from his tamer, but the second that I go to attack with any of my Digimon, he would have to block it, and if he blocks it, it would either die, and then I get the free checks to his security, or he lets it go through, then I check again, he blocks, dies, and then I check his security. So I have enough bodies on board to clear the game if I can get his DP down to 1k, which is possible, because as soon as I play this Knightmon with Lord Knight, 5 bodies on board, minus 3k is 15k. So, but it is at this point where the game is halted and is no longer, yeah, it doesn't happen. After I minus 15k to his level 7, my opponent once again just disappeared. And I tried, I'm not gonna lie guys, I tried so hard to get you some content of this deck, but apparently, I don't know, I guess it just makes people leave. But either way, I'm happy to at least get some content there for you guys. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully you had a good time. Let me know in the comments what you would change or anything like that you could suggest. And, well, I'll catch you later.